There's nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom-tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a third suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Tuesday morning. Today, the focus is on business, a business that's been around a long time, since the 70s. They've changed names, but it's been the same name for a long time. You may recognize it. We'll have the owner or co-owner in the house today. 436-ME-TV, option 11. At the top of the program, we'll touch on the debate last night as well, so you can call in and talk about anything you want, but specifically about our guest today and his marketing techniques and strategies, my friends. All right, today's sponsor is Sam's Suits and Tuxedos, located in Clovis. Back in a moment. Back here on the program, the focus is on business on this day. You're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375 as usual, 10 to 11 o'clock, and the show replays all day long on the other Ventura broadcasting stations, 13.1 and 43.6. You're watching us over the air broadcast as well. Quick programming note for tomorrow. We've got Jim Perez in the house. He owns that golf course out there in Northwest Fresno, and he's going to be in here to talk about the life and legacy of Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer, he wasn't the greatest golfer in the world, but he was one of the greatest men in the world, one of the greatest human beings you'll ever meet. And frankly, I was very fortunate to meet him and talk to him back in 1980 for 45 minutes. He gave me 45 minutes of his time. Can you believe that? Here I was, a punk kid. I was a nobody, but he talked to me for 45 minutes. I still can't believe that. We'll talk more about that tomorrow and the life and legacy of Arnold Palmer. All right, before we get into the focus on business today, you know, I would be amiss if I wouldn't mention the debate last night between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton taking place at Hofstra University in New York, moderated by NBC's Lester Holt. Debatable on the questions, because there were a lot of questions that were asked that had nothing to do with how you're going to fix the economy, the war on terror. Anyway, I think the general consensus is by a lot of people, including the pollsters, that Hillary Clinton won that debate. It was contentious, but it was respectful. Here are some of the highlights from that first presidential debate, watched by just maybe a smidge less or fewer people than actually watched the Super Bowl, which is about 100 million. Here are some highlights.
I was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality, but that is not the facts.
And look at her website. You know what? It's no different than this. She's telling us how to fight ISIS. Just go to her website. She tells you how to fight ISIS on her website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that too much.
The next segment, we're continuing the subject of...
Well, at least I have a plan to fight ISIS.
No, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do.
No, we're not.
See, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do. No wonder you've been fighting. No wonder you've been fighting ISIS your entire adult life. I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them...
So you've got to ask yourself, why won't he release his tax returns? And I think there may be a couple of reasons. First, maybe he's not as rich as he says he is. Second, Maybe he's not as charitable as he claims to be. Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid zero, so he has a long record of engaging in racist behavior. And the birther lie was a very hurtful one. You know, Barack Obama is a man of great dignity, and I could tell how much it bothered him and annoyed him that this was being touted and used against him.
First of all, I got to watch, in preparing for this, some of your debates against Barack Obama. You treated him with terrible disrespect. And I watched the way you talk now about how lovely everything is and how wonderful you are. It doesn't work that way. So when you try to act holier than thou, it really doesn't work. It really doesn't. Now, well, I have much better judgment than she does. There's no question about that. I also have a much better temperament than she has. You know, I have a much better. I think my strongest asset, maybe by far, is my temperament. I have a winning temperament. I know how to win.
Earlier this month, you said she doesn't have, quote, a presidential look. She's standing here right now. What did you mean by that?
She doesn't have the look. She doesn't have the stamina. I said she doesn't have the stamina. And I don't believe she does have the stamina.
Well, as soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
The world, let me tell you, Hillary has experience, but it's bad experience. We have made so many bad deals during the last, so she's got experience, that I agree, but it's bad experience.
You know, he tried to switch from looks to stamina, but this is a man who has called women pigs, slobs, and dogs.
So anyway, that was debate number one, and I believe sometime next week we'll have the vice presidential debate, of course, that'll take place, and we have two other debates on the presidential side. So I guess it's subjective, depending on what camp and what side you sit on, whether or not Trump or Hillary won that debate last night. It'll be interesting to see who gets the bump in the ratings, but we won't know for sure, of course, until November the 8th when election season rolls around. So let's get to the focus of our program today. Just wanted to give you a little snippet and a little highlight on what happened last night in New York. You know, if you were going to hire a public relations firm, like let's say Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton wanted to hire a public relations firm from Fresno, what would they be looking for? Would they be looking for reputation? How about honesty? How about integrity? How about quality of work? How about the promise to follow through with all of the promises that you made to your client or potential client? Let's roll the videotape and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in the focus of today's program, my friend. Well, just maybe you'd be impressed with a company that has just moved into an old building that's been refurbished with lavish, upscale, and high-tech equipment. Look at that. It's certain to impress any potential clients with an open floor plan, skylights, and huge windows. It's a beautiful place. Don't be fooled, though. That's just a little bit of eye candy, my friends. The company I'm talking about is the Jeffrey Scott Agency, a public relations firm that just moved into these new digs. It's the old PG&E building in downtown Fresno, 1544 Fulton Street, in a building that was built back in 1926 and is on the local register of historic places. How do you like that? You know, you're looking inside right now at the new home for 30 employees who have a lot to live up to in this company. Number one, they work for an agency that's been around since 1976, a company that has delivered and earned the trust and respect of clients the last 4 decades. The pressure to continue doing so is very high. It's a blend of workers, young, new, fresh ideas, to the crusty old veterans who know a thing or two because Well, they've been around for decades. Number 2, they're in a new home, and it's the heart of downtown revitalization, the new Fulton Street, the baseball stadium, Bitwise, and others. They have 13 major clients on the books right now, and they have nonprofits like Storyland, Central Valley Honor Flight, the Boys and Girls Club. It goes on and on. Live in our studio right now is Bruce Batti. He is the co-owner of Jeffrey Scott Agency, along with his wife Wendy. Only Bruce is here today. You're welcome to call in at 436-ME-TV option 11. We'll talk about the fact that Bruce moved his company into a new building right in the heart of downtown Fresno. You know about the topic of downtown. It's the revitalization. We'll touch on that topic. We'll talk about the baseball stadium, Fulton Street, how all that's going to have an impact because he moved down there. So maybe something really is going on in downtown Fresno. Don't forget, shortly we will elect a new mayor. What will be the vision of that mayor in terms of downtown Fresno? 436-ME-TV, option 11, if you want to call in on the program. Sam Suits and Tuxedos of Clovis is our sponsor today. Back in just a moment.
There's nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom-tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a 3rd suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent, Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the ME-TV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The adventures of Superman.
Now on ME-TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program, 436-ME-TV. If you get that recording, remember to hit option 11. We'll get you on the program right away. Bruce Batti is here, the owner of the Jeffrey Scott Agency. It's been around since 1976. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing well for a crusty old veteran. I think
You're a crusty old veteran?
Yeah, that is my role at the agency. Someone's got to fulfill it. Might as well be me.
Well, you know what? The people that know more than anybody else in the building, they're the crusty old veterans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're crusty. They're kind of old, a little rough around the edges. But
John, I am embracing that role. I am leaning into it, as they say. Yes.
You're running toward it, aren't you?
Yes, I am embracing millennials at a very high level.
Hey, what'd you think of that debate last night? You're in the public relations industry. If you had a chance to meet with Donald Trump one-on-one for like 15 minutes and Hillary Clinton the same, what would you tell them? You did this right and this wrong. What would it be?
I think the general consensus is in this election we'll be voting against someone more than we'll be voting for somebody. So I would think likability. So I would almost, it's an arena that I don't jump into quite often because there are a lot
but
of
PR-wise, what would you tell them?
I'd soften it up. I would get off the attack mode. I would make people try to like me. I think the likability factor for both is at record lows for any political. So the sense of being human, of having a little bit of a heart inside here someplace, would probably benefit both of those candidates.
In other words, show me you have a heart. Show me you're a human being.
Yeah, a little bit of a sensitivity level. While they both have generally high marks for being aggressive, I think heart would go a long way.
Really, and that would be a difficult thing for Donald Trump probably to accomplish because he is, very abrasive, very loud, brash.
But I don't think you lose anybody, and the fact is this is going to be a very, very close election. So if you can just pull some folks across by doing something they wouldn't normally expect, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, let me roll the videotape here immediately, and it's called, let's go on the inside tour of this place, the new building that you moved into, built in 1926, the old PG&E building right there. Take us inside. What are we looking at here? Let's take a tour.
So we are on the top floor. So in the building, and it is a beautiful building. On the top is the creative department. So here we will find writers and designers and web folk and even me over in the corner,
Yeah.
because it overlooks the beautiful entrance that that building has. And I think it was basically built as an accounting firm. You'd come in there to pay your bills. It was 3 years prior to the large multi-story building just right down the street. So that gentleman right there is our traffic person, making sure everything goes where it's supposed to, all the ads, and that they get done and done on time. So we've got about 14 people upstairs, and then on the main floor, which would be coming up, that is basically the account side. So we like to describe the agency as basically a living, breathing mullet, meaning that we are sort of schizophrenic. You have to have a level of being business on one side, and you have to be creative on the other. So we bounce back and forth between that. So downstairs are the people who handle the accounts, liaisons between our clients, media buyers, social media folks, and of course accounting and all those other good roles.
Yeah. So the creative side is upstairs.
Yes.
And what does the creative side do? Do they write scripts? Do they look at video? What do they do?
So starts with a creative director. Jesse Irwin is our creative director. Young woman creative director, which is sort of a cool thing in our world. And she leads a staff of about 6 graphic designers who do anything from brochures, newspaper ads, digital ads now, which is much more popular than newspaper at some point. Then you're also looking at folks who would write scripts, TV, radio, print, brochures, web. So a few writers, and then you would have also web folks who actually work in HTML5 and things of that nature.
I was looking over some of the bios too yesterday that you had sent over, and you're talking about Jesse Irwin being the creative director. Hasn't been there that long.
3 years.
Only 3 years, but she's created some of the most magnificent pieces for EECU. That's Educational Employees Credit Union.
Yes.
Derek Carr. Are those the Derek Carr spots?
Correct.
So that's yours.
Those are our commercials. Yes, they are. And those guys are great to work with. And it's sort of how our world evolves. This was the 3rd year that we did a set of commercials for ECU. And the first year they were more straightforward, that you would expect from folks who were just spokesmen for a company. Second year we got to play that little brotherly thing, and by the 3rd year they had their own personality, and we got to really play getting to know them. They are fun together. They kid each other, so we started to write those into the scripts, and so it was a great deal. That is a great family, and they are great ambassadors for not.
Are you
just
talking about EECU? You're talking about the Carr brothers.
The Carr brothers. They're not only great ambassadors for EECU, they're great ambassadors for Fresno.
Yeah. And how, let's see, those commercials that we see all the time, I think the latest one, Derek is sitting on a bed holding a dog.
Jumps over a couch.
Helps
a couple to make some decisions about their finances. There's one where they're going to decide which one is going to be the pitch man for the new low car rate loan, car, CARR loan. And
so who thinks up the storyline for a commercial that's going to be 30 seconds, let's say? How long is that commercial? That's about a minute?
30.
It's a 30
second
Okay, so you got to sit
spot.
down and really come up with something that is, because that commercial, because it's Derek Carr, because he's wearing his jersey, no matter what you're doing in the house, it kind of jumps out at the screen at you, and it captures your attention.
Yeah.
How do you come up with something like that?
Well, you saw the building all open. One of the reasons we moved there, as opposed to offices where people would sit in isolation, this really leads towards collaboration in a real way. We have a picnic table there, so that car commercial started at the picnic table, where writers, designers, Jesse, an account person, all get together and just start throwing out some ideas to get fleshed out. Everybody goes to their corner, starts working on scripts, then it comes back and we start to refine that with the client. ESU spends a lot of time with those commercials as well because it's reflecting their brand. So in our world, in a marketing world where the client is at the table, having a voice, helping shape those commercials with us, that kind of collaboration always makes a better product. Bar none. If we're doing it by ourselves.
Do you ever end up with a script and somebody says, or you say it crosses your desk and you say, you know what, that's dorky. That's not going to work.
All the time. 2 times this morning before I came over here. No.
Really?
But you do it in you try to make it to where discussion is robust, and it's much different than our political world.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. You can disagree in a polite way, and stuff gets tossed all the way. You can't have a big ego and be creative.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do, because I got to go to a commercial break, and maybe our executive producer is upstairs, Ara Cacciatore. And if you're watching, Ara, take the time right now to pull or try to find that EECU commercial with Derek Carr, the latest one with the football. It's probably on YouTube someplace. Send it down here to Carrie, and we'll play it on the air, because we got 40 minutes left in the show. Maybe you can do that real quick, and we can send a text to him upstairs, because I like to see that. Because, it does, sometimes the weirdest thing happens. Like, I've been in broadcasting a long time. The most creative
You
ideas...
are a crusty old veteran, then.
Oh, I'm worse than that. I'm a cranky old man. I'm a mean, cranky old man.
There we go. All right.
Anyway,
I'll get
just
you
ask anybody here.
I'll get you a member's card, then. We're good.
No, but sometimes you know this. You've been in the business as long as I have. Look, the most creative time for anyone, and for a lot of people, at least for me, is at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. If I get up to go to the restroom, and something will pop into my head. I got to do that.
Yes.
And I have to write it down, or I'll forget it in 2 or 3 hours.
Good creatives, it's not an 8 to 5 business. It doesn't go out the door. So most of the inspiration will hit on the drive. Jesse drives in from Visalia every day, so it is always not a unique thing for her to walk up to me and say, hey, on the way in I thought that we would do blank, blank, and blank, right? So it is the downtime where you really are more productive, and a lot of times when you're in the building, some of that is more organizational or execution as opposed to really the creative portion.
Yeah, and think about all the things, all the other pressures in life that you have, a marriage, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, kids, school, this, that. Sometimes your creative juices get crushed.
Yeah, and I think everybody attacks it differently. My era, our era, we were more about a siloed, I'm creative now, and then I'm going home to my family, and now it's my kid time. Trust me, millennials, that all is just mooshed together. It's a blend. So they are texting, writing, watching TV.
Stop.
The whole drill.
Stop.
It would have been good for me. I'm ADD, so anyway.
My head's going to explode, because, my kids can do 20 million things at one time. And I say, okay, slow down. They're trying to teach me how to use my iPad.
Right, and you're taking your index finger and just trying to get one email out in about 14 minutes. So there we go.
And they're ready to slap me like, what are you doing? God, you're slow. Come on, Grandpa, move it along. Anyway, this crusty, mean old man will be back in just a moment here with Bruce Batti, the owner of Jeffrey Scott Agency. Today's program sponsored by Sam's Suits and Tuxedos. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
There's nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom-tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a 3rd suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
Back here with Bruce Batti, and talking about the Carr brothers. I got to tell you, I don't know David Carr personally. I've talked to him maybe 2 or 3 times at most when he was at Fresno State. Not since he went to the Raiders, but he seems like the salt of the earth, at least to me.
They are.
It's rare to find that combination where he's a good person, a good Christian person, very religious, and he is great on the football field as well.
Yeah.
He's more aggressive this year on the football field and more emotional. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Well, he's always been an emotional guy, but
but showing more emotion this year.
And that's sort of leadership. I think 3rd year now, that's his team, and he's taken off with it. back to the marketing aspect, when you have spokespeople for your company, for your brand, there's nothing more personal than your brand. You hold it dearly, especially if you're a financial institution like ECU. Yeah. These are two guys that are no risk. There's rare that you can hire somebody. I was just
going to ask you, if you're marketing a guy like this, and I don't suspect this is going to happen with either of the Carr brothers, how much, let's take Tiger Woods, for example, how much would it hurt somebody like, say, a David Carr, if they got caught with a DUI?
It'd be terrible.
Oh my God!
It'd be terrible for everyone involved, including.
Wouldn't hurt his football career, but it certainly would hurt
the ability for him to get endorsements. It would change the way that people view him. It would be devastating. And those are things, as a company, when you are, perception definitely, as a company, you are weighing that when you look at endorsement. If you're Subway, they're thinking, gosh, we shouldn't have probably had Jared as our spokes in retrospect. So
how do you know
those conversations always happen before somebody signs a drill.
Yeah, but how does a company know that a guy like Jared is into kiddie porn?
Yeah,
you just don't know that.
But trust me, people vet it a lot more differently now than prior to that. So, and there's clauses written into contracts because of those scenarios. But people, look, squeaky clean is, you try to stack the odds in your favor, which I think with the Carr brothers, that's something I would stake my children on, that those guys.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that, because you never know.
I stake my children 5 times a day, so they're okay. They're good with it.
Oh, wow.
The Carr brothers are exceptional.
Yeah, let me ask you something, because let's start with your company here. Let's go back inside. Well, actually, no, I want to roll a videotape called "New versus Old Building." Because we're going to take a look in this piece of videotape. The old building where you were, wasn't it over by Kino Radio there?
Old building was just right across from PG&E. It's on
across from PG&E, but it's not too far from. Okay, that's the old building, right?
Correct. Oh no, that's a new building.
Oh, that's the new building.
Yeah. So,
right, so when the old building comes up.
So, and if you look at that, that's Darius Assemi's project. GV Urban just came online with about 100 apartments, live work place.
Okay, that's the back of the new building, or?
Yes, back of the new building. And the cool part about that, this is the heart of the Mural District. People are walking by every day. It is on Fulton Street, so it's the iconic street, and once that project is finished in early spring, traffic will be going through that. We are part of Art Hop now, where we are. So for an agency who has a whole floor dedicated to creative, being in the heart of the Mural District is so much better than being across in a more peripheral part of downtown, which was the southern part close to Ventura.
Yeah, and there it is. It's got 2 stories, right?
It is. So that is where the back people can sort of sneak out the back, run downstairs, and head off. Now that is the old building.
That's the old one.
Right across.
Okay, I remember that building. Okay, all right.
So it is the Shamlian building. That building was originally Bourbon Rugs. For those folks who are crusty and old. And Bourbon Rugs manufactured rugs for a long time, started in the early 1900s, and it ended up being the Shamlian building once they bought that. So
I want to ask you something, because I read something, and I printed some of these pages out because I was fascinated just reading some of this stuff. And I was watching the debate last night. I was going over this because I was kind of getting a little bit disgusted with the debate on the questioning.
So
but
you're
anyway,
almost like a millennial. You're doing 2 things at one time. Kudos, multitasking, John. That's awesome.
I know. I was busted. But okay, you say here, Jeffrey Scott was born at a very young age. If he were a man, he would be a man of mystery and sophistication, whose sophistication is only exceeded by his mystery. Jeffrey Scott is not a person. Do you get that question a lot? Who is Jeffrey Scott?
All the time.
Does he work there?
Yeah. So the best part is when somebody calls and says, "Can I speak to Jeffrey Scott?" We know that there is nothing good that is going to come out of that phone call, and that they really don't know us. I can tell you, the agency started as Fresno Advertising Associates.
1976.
And so as we started to do work outside of Fresno, we realized 2 things. One, that geography matters. So if you have a geographical point in your name, people already in the Bay Area or out of the market would go, geography is already a problem. It's an impediment to us doing business. Number two, I don't know if you know, John, but sometimes Fresno doesn't have the best reputation out of this market.
No
I know.
kidding.
Surprised,
I'm not
right?
from here. I know that. It's like, you know what I've heard outside of Fresno? We're the armpit of California.
So in marketing, if in your name you have two impediments, I would say that's a bad thing. So that's when we said, okay, we're going to have to change the name of our company. And at the time, the owner, John Oslin, had two nephews. One's name was Jeffrey, and I think you know who the other one's name was. And so those sound good together. So it's proof positive, and we do that with clients all the time. Clients will work on a name, and they will, struggle over that, agonize over that process. And I'm always like, it's really more important, as long as the name does not have something derogatory in it, like, I don't know, Hitler. What you want to do is to have, is to really work on what you do with that name. Much more important than the name itself, it's how you execute the brand. So Jeffrey Scott was born out of that, and so now we're having fun with it on our 40th anniversary.
40th anniversary.
Yeah. So
wow. And then you took over when?
2007.
2007 is when you
I started with the company in 1984 out of Gottschalk's. I spent
Fresno State grad,
Fresno
went
State
to
grad.
Gottschalk's, and then went to work at Jeffrey Scott as an employee. And then you bought the company in 2007. But prior to that, the name change was in 82 or 83?
Yeah, almost 83.
Almost 83. Almost 83. So that's kind of the chronology of where we stand right now.
Yeah.
And why did you want to buy the agency to begin with? I mean, so you worked there, okay. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility and pressure. A lot of people think, well, you're the owner, you got no problems. Not true.
Correct. Yeah.
Not true.
100% not true. I think anybody who's made payroll understands what that is like over a period of time. John Oslin had got the last license for a radio station in this market with K-Jewel 99.3. And so at that time he started, his interest really was starting to lie on the radio side. So I quit being the creative director, which is what my role was prior to ownership around the year 2000.
Did you understand the responsibilities that came with it?
Well, I got to the corner office before I bought it. So I took over day-to-day in 2000 of the agency, and John basically started running the radio stations.
But to actually make payroll and have your name on the title that says you're the owner along with your wife, a little bit different.
Yeah, did I fully understand it? No. It's like, I'm probably a lot like asking my wife, did you know what it was like to birth a child? And you think, I think I know what that process is going to be like.
Yeah.
And then once you birth a child, you go, no, that was even different than I expected. So I think our world is definitely that. I'm fortunate in that my wife also is at the company, so she's CFO. So we already had the financial part. She was already doing the fiduciary duty. It really was just the safety net goes away.
So she does the financial and you do the what?
Mostly the organization. And she would ask that same question, I think. So I do the financial. Bruce, what is it that you do? And so the same answer to her is all the hard stuff, really. No. So I'm running the business side of it. So in charge of the accounts, going out and doing all the networking, not that she doesn't, but really the organizational execution is on my side. And since
she
I
strictly does financial, that's it.
Correct, yeah,
and
doesn't handle accounts, so my side is more the marketing aspect.
Marketing and accounts and everything else. We're going to get into the accounts and exactly what you guys do. Got to take a break, though. Let's see, we've got Sam Suits and Tuxedos as our sponsor today here on the program. Thank you to him. Back with more Bruce Batti in just a moment.
Nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom-tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a 3rd suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
most watched news channel in Europe.
And Bruce Batti, again, we're going to talk about Derek Carr just a little bit and the sibling rivalry between him and David. But before we do that, hang on, we have a phone call, believe it or not. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Bruce Batti, who is the co-owner, because I don't want to leave your wife out of this equation here, of the Jeffrey Scott Agency, the advertising agency here in Fresno. You know all those Derek Carr commercials, caller? It's this guy. This guy's responsible for all those. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm glad you're in that agency, especially with the EECU with Derek Carr. I love that one where he jumps in the sofa, and the wife is the one that looks at the name, and so she knew who it was.
Yes.
And he's a big name,
he is.
And I'm glad you got him working there. And the thing is, with watching you, it seems like you real low key. Don't stress out a lot, but I'm sure you stress out, But at the same time, it looks like, man, I would love to be in that agency and all that. But my question is to you: do you plan to expand more than maybe 30 people, and eventually get to maybe 60 people if you can? But you're in the right place, right there by the stadium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they'll look up and there's a name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the call and the question. So at our peak, probably right before the 2008, we did have an office right off of Union Square on Gary in San Francisco, and handled about 6 counts there. And so at our peak, probably about 38 people, currently 30. So I would love to be 60 people. And I think that's always good for Fresno and our community. So the more folks we can hire and have work for, the better off we are. And we continue to do some work out of the Bay Area, which we like doing because it, to me, that's really how we talked about the Fresno brand before. When I sit in a room, office in San Francisco, and an agency from Fresno is pitching a piece of business, and people look and thought, they are thinking they're probably going to get somebody in overalls with a piece of hay out of my mouth and aw shucks, and talking like Alan Autry maybe. But the truth is they're always surprised, and that's how we can individually boost our brand, is for all of us cumulative when we do the work, the business community of Fresno, when we're out working with other folks, if we're doing it in a really high level, that's what I think moves our mark in terms of brand.
A lot to get to in a short amount of time here. Okay, you're an ad agency that represents Me and Ed's Pizza, City of Fresno Department of Utilities, Bonadeli, EECU, as we mentioned, Sunmaid, Wiener Schnitzel, Selma Auto Mall, Sierra View Hospital Center, Darrell's Mini Storage, Stockton Ports, Premier Valley Bank. Some of the nonprofits, we're going to talk about Storyland Playland, Central Valley Honor Flight, Crime Stoppers, EPU, Exceptional Parents Unlimited. My daughter used to go there. CASA, Boys and Girls Clubs, Catholic Charities. So your agency gets paid by these organizations or corporations to market them.
Correct.
Is that it's as simple as that?
Except for the nonprofit ones you read off.
Okay.
That is pro bono work that we do for them.
Okay.
So we do not charge them. Yes.
But simply said, in simple terms, Me and Ed's will pay you $100 a year. I'm just using it. Let's say $100 a year. Okay. You're going to market them, and that's your job.
Correct.
Is that what happens?
I will be leaving here to go to a Me and Ed's meeting after this. Okay. So, and it's all different. Not every client interacts with us in the same manner. So for Me and Ed's, we are embedded. We are, in essence, their marketing person. So.
All right, let's go to a videotape. I'm not going to run the Derek Carr thing yet. I'm going to go to Collaborative first. Let's go inside the building and go to Collaborative. You earlier touched on collaboration and cooperation and batting ideas back and forth. And we've got the videotape here inside the building. There you are collaborating with...
that would have been Brenda Blagg, who is my assistant and handles some accounts on her. She's an account manager.
Okay. If you didn't collaborate at, say, a picnic table, like you mentioned earlier, with all these employees around, batting these ideas around, could it still be done?
Yeah, if it wasn't inside the building, definitely. I mean, we'll have teams now in our world. We'll be Skyping with 2 folks. I have somebody writing menu items, so all the descriptive part of a food item. So there's somebody who's very linear in that. So that's a vendor I will go out and
here's
search.
the thing, and I can relate it to news because I've worked in television news. This is the first talk show I've done like this. But in television news, prior to any newscast, you have a collaborative, similar to what you do. It's a newsroom meeting between the producers, the reporters, the editors.
And then you break apart.
We break apart. But do you know how many arguments we had at the table?
Yeah.
What's our lead story going to be?
Correct.
No, it can't be that. It's got to be this. No, that's not a good story. So do you ever have knockdown, drag-out fights?
Try
Arguments.
not to. We have heavier discussions, but yes, it can be. Absolutely. And it's usually somebody really married to their concept, right?
Yeah.
So, so it could be over. Yesterday, I was arguing over the word unfold versus unravel. And I didn't like the word unravel because of the negative connotation, even though it can be used in a more positive manner. I thought unfold was a better word. The person who used unravel was, defending it probably more so just because they wanted to at that point. So all the time there's going to be discussions about words all the way to concepts. Something
or
like
the way
David,
a sentence is phrased.
Correct. Or, just we'll start with concepts before we ever go down because we don't want to, if somebody doesn't like a concept, we're not going to heavily execute it.
Yeah, and there you are. Do you go around every day like this and talk individually to your employees?
I try to. I try to make it that personal contact is always good for morale and other reasons. And sometimes it's the only way people hear or understand things. So, yes. And it's not hard now. I can just yell at them from my desk and ask a question.
Are
so
you
it's
an
good.
intimidating boss?
I would say no. I would. I'm a more get it with sugar than I'm more of a pull than push.
But you seem like a quiet guy, but you seem like you internalize a lot of things. That's
good.
how I read you.
Definitely. I would sometimes take one for the team. That would be a better drill. Acting out is never good in a creative world. And I think it's from being a creative director, you have to be the calm in the storm. You don't want to. So I've always said that our office should be a sanctuary, that there's enough crazy that we can get outside of the office. So inside the office, people should feel comfortable.
Yeah, let's go to one more videotape inside, and then we'll get to the Derek Carr stuff. Let's go to work habits. I want work habits, the videotape on work habits. And the reason I bring this up is what do you expect from your employees in terms of showing up on time, work habits, dedication, being honest to the point where even if they're wrong, they have to admit they're wrong. I mean, what kind of, I'm talking about integrity now.
Right,
so
right.
so what are you looking for in terms of quality, in terms of your employees?
Well, as you know, man, the work environment has changed so much over the course of my lifetime. I can remember first days at JSA, if you were late, you were in trouble. So we would get there at 7:30. And I would drive like crazy if I thought I was going to be on the verge. And it was a start-stop. It was almost like and at Gottschalk's when I was there, it was a punch clock.
Yeah, I know.
Nowadays, that is not the case. So
More lenient nowadays? Or?
Yeah, well, yes and no. So I always I don't care what time you start, as long as it's between 7:30 and 9, and then you just accordingly do the 8 hours. As long as I get my 80 hours a week. No, just kidding. As long as I get my hours per week. But I do want to.
Which is how many hours?
40.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are.
But it's not 40. They take it home.
Yeah. Some creatives definitely do at the higher level. Some it is 40. It depends on the job.
Yeah. And so, have you ever, as a boss, because I've done this, and I've never been a boss anywhere, but I've done this as like a lead anchor. I'm right about this story. I'm right about this sentence. I'm right about this. I'm right about that. And then a day or two later, a week down the road, you figure out, you know what? In that meeting the other day, they were right and I was wrong. Does that ever happen to you?
It does, but you get humbled by that in the beginning. So the fine line for me is always, especially with young folks who we're mentoring, is like, I know what's going to happen, so I'm not going to allow that, versus I'm not sure if one of us might be right. So if I see no damage, I'm going to go with somebody else's idea. And when I know it's absolutely going to be a train wreck and blow up and hit the wall, then I will step in at that point. But if you do that all the time, with somebody who is in their 20s or 30s, they don't want to work for you.
Well, you don't want to break them either.
Correct. So, so I learned early on that I'm not always right, but that my percentage is pretty good. So
Okay.
how to execute that is really, that's the devil in the details.
There's still a lot more to get to. I got to take a quick break here. Sam Suits and Tuxedos in Clovis is our sponsor today. Back with more in a moment.
Boomity boom.
And away we go. Here's the place that makes you smile. Stick around and stay a while. We're the home of great TV. That's memorable. That's me. Follow me, sir. Call them classics, call them the best. Call them favorites, be our guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV. All you have to do is watch me. Are you kidding me?
Follow me.
That's memorable. That's me. That's me. Me TV.
There's nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a 3rd suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
This face.
EECU's gonna choose me to be their auto loan spokesperson.
EECU's gonna choose me. I mean, I'm local. I know what a great rate is.
It would be perfect to get a great car rate from Derek Carr.
What if I break the internet? His hair.
I just look into the camera like this.
Derek's gonna be crushed. They're choosing me.
They're choosing me. What is he doing here?
Are you wearing eyeliner?
It's called guyliner.
Looks like eyeliner.
EECU. Smarter banking since 1934.
All right, David and Derek Carr, of course, that's one of the commercials, not the latest one, but let's play one more. We've got like 4 of them lined up. Let's just play any one that you want. Roll it, Derek and David Carr, EECU. Quite hilarious.
Yes! Little bro wins again.
Well, have fun cashing that.
With EECU's 24/7 online and mobile access, you can view account balances, transfer money, pay bills, or even deposit checks anywhere, anytime.
Sweet. Your rookie year. You're gonna love how realistic it is.
Dude, I just got sacked.
So?
It's still pregame warm-ups.
I told you it was realistic.
EECU. Smarter banking since 1934.
They're both great guys, but just from a football sense, if I had my choice, and I know David Carr has a Super Bowl ring, but not as a starter, as a backup, Derek Carr is a better quarterback.
Yes.
I tell you.
Yeah. No,
better talent, better arm, better vision over the field. He knows how to read defenses. And that somersault he did in Game 1, did you see that?
Yeah. I doubt if the coaches or his agent or anybody else really like that. I would say this, that, it shows you a lot of things about life, is that circumstance, windows of opportunity, where David was drafted didn't really lend himself for that opportunity. Plus, David didn't have the benefit of having an older brother like Derek does, who mentored him along the way.
Whose idea was it to get Derek and David Carr for these commercials?
I think the client first brought it to us. I think
EECU?
their agent had called EECU, and so then we had a meeting and started chatting about that possibility.
So you thought it was a good idea?
Absolutely.
Could you have vetoed it?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't want to.
But there was no reason to, right?
Yeah, no, none at all. So it ended up being really, really good.
Oh, okay. Quick phone call here. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Short on time, though.
Hi, John, and hi, Bruce. Very good show. Very interesting. By the way, I just want to let you know that there was just an EAS test that covered all the audio for those 2 Derek Carr commercials you played. So
we got to do it again.
To hear it.
Okay.
And I guess my question to Bruce is how is the advertising industry in Fresno? How does it compare with, say, San Francisco or L.A.? That would be my question. I'll take my answer over the air. Thanks.
Thank you. And then we'll run the Derek Carr stuff again since we
right.
got.
We can just do that first spot. It'll be fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as I had said earlier, we had an office in San Francisco, continue to do work up there. What I always tell people is the best in San Francisco. We have that type of personnel here in Fresno. We just don't have a lot of them. So we don't have any bench strength. So while we might have, if there's a bad photographer who comes to Fresno from LA, they're a bad photographer in Fresno. But
bad is bad.
Correct. So really good we have here. We just don't have where San Francisco has 800 of somebody maybe in a category. We might have 2. But I love going up against other agencies out of market.
All right, so let's set this up again, and we'll roll the Derek Carr and David Carr EECU commercial, because we were interrupted by the emergency services that crawl across the screen.
And I'll say this: if we do the commercial with them in front of the mirror, when they come up, we shoot those in one day. So this time we had sets built. So the set that you see is in a huge room, and it had the mirror.
Where was it?
It was a Windsong production. So we did it out at a 10,000 square foot. It's going to go into their new building. Across the way, we did a thing on our research. So we built a research lab. So we end up doing that so that we can just move set to set to set and get it done quickly.
So that's here in Fresno. Shot in one day.
One day.
Siblings rivalry. So here's the story. Bruce Batti, who owns Jeffrey Scott Agency with his wife, they represent EECU. They use Derek and David Carr to do the commercials. It's this man that sets it up and produces those commercials with those 2 young men that are so revered here in the Central Valley. Let's take a look at one of those commercials again.
This face.
EECU's gonna choose me to be their auto loan spokesperson.
EECU is gonna choose me. I mean, I'm local. I know what a great rate is.
It would be perfect to get a great car rate from Derek Carr.
What if I break the internet? His hair.
I just look into the camera like this.
Derek's gonna be crushed. They're choosing me.
They're choosing me. What is he doing here?
Are you wearing eyeliner?
It's called guyliner.
Looks like eyeliner.
EECU, smarter banking since 1934.
Yes! Little bro wins again.
Well, have fun cashing that.
With EECU's 24/7 online and mobile access, you can view account balances, transfer money, pay bills, or even deposit checks anywhere, anytime.
Sweet. Your rookie year, you're gonna love how realistic it is.
Dude, I just got sacked.
So?
It's still pregame warm-ups.
I told you it was realistic.
EECU, smarter banking since 1934.
So again, you see those commercials over and over and over again at home, on television. It's this man that produces them, the Jeffrey Scott Agency. Let's move on to other things, because you were instrumental in helping save Storyland and Playland, 60 years old, this place out by the Fresno Zoo, the Chaffee Zoo. You're the vice chair of the board. You, along with Scott Miller, of course, of Gazebo Gardens, helped save this. You raised more than $1 million. You had like 10,000 volunteer hours out there trying to spruce up the place. Let's roll the videotape on Playland and check it out. Why was this so important to Fresno?
The agency had done some work on Measure Z, and so these folks wanted the zoo to take over the parks. They had some debt. They were decaying, and attendance had really dropped. So I think for everybody, I had emotional equity in these parks. I'd taken my kids there. It was sort of dad and daughter time. And so I sat on the zoo asked me to sit on the transition committee. I looked at that. Rotary had done some really heavy lifting over the course of that time, but I think they had a little bit of just basically fatigue. So we decided a new board should be formed. We took one Rotarian, Wayne Thomas, and kept him on our board for institutional knowledge. But we couldn't look back. We just sort of had to look forward. So you're looking at Playland right now.
That's the carousel off to the left.
Carousel, which is a beautiful asset. The train, obviously, this year we will have 50. We just finished our first year. 50,000 people will have taken a ride on that train. Storyland will have done about just shy of $500,000 in attendance and revenue. So off to a good start, but still a lot of work to be done. We have teacups that just were shipped to us. We're going through the planning stage. They are ADA compliant, so you can take a wheelchair and roll it right into a teacup. But to give you an idea, a sense of scope, teacups at the park, $250,000 to get those.
Just the teacups alone?
Just teacups, $250,000 to buy and install. But they were there before. Wow. We're trying to restore to back to legacy, basically, so that things that were there before we're doing, and then continue to add. Over at Playland, or over at Storyland, we're doing a nice Jack and Jill Hill where kids can roll down.
We're going to roll a videotape on Storyland right now, and we got Storyland videotape as well because they did restore that. And that's Storyland right next door.
Yep.
And this is obviously, the names speak for themselves. Playland is where you play. Storyland is where they tell stories.
Playland, memories go round. We do that in its rides, and Storyland is just beautiful. There's nothing like this in the valley. The vegetation is beautiful. We're about ready to get recycled water there, so we can water at will. And it has been, it's the boxes that you put a key in, the same key that you would have had in 1962 will still work in those boxes. We currently have a project.
My kids turn those keys.
We currently have a project to restore all the boxes. There are basically 13 boxes there, and we have a project with a company who is going to then donate a magic mirror in the castle, so that when you, John Mallows, put your face in that mirror, you'll look like a prince or a frog. We're not sure whichever
one. It's going to be a frog. It's going to be a frog. All right. So, and it took 14 months on the facelift. Obviously, for both, it took a long time. A little over a year. Where did the money come from? Donations?
Yeah, multiple. We had some foundation money that came in. There were some folks that just, some Rotarians that loved that project. So we had some major gifts, but a lot of it was 20, 30, 40s. We did, a few telethons. Businesses have stepped up. We tried not to, throw a business name on every single item there, but like the folks, the good folks at Red Carpet Car Wash did a car wash for us that netted $20K, that type of stuff.
Change topics here before we go. Let's roll that aerial shot of the baseball stadium, Chancey Park downtown, where the Grizzlies have played for a long time now. The stadium, as you know, Bruce, is a source of controversy, and always has been, because it costs too much money, they say. Jim Patterson didn't want it. The council did. You were here. You went through the whole thing. Now there's an argument between Lee Brand and Henry Perea saying, look, if I'm elected mayor, Perea says, I'm going to go back to the original $1.5 million that they owe the city a year. And Lee Brand says, no, it's $700,000. We have a contract. You can't do that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Chris Cummings, meanwhile, the owner of the Grizzlies, looking to sell the team the last 4 or 5 years, can't find a buyer.
Correct.
Okay. And then you have the people on top of that say, I am not going down. I know you just moved downtown. That's why I have to ask you the question. It's not safe. It's dirty. It's dark. It's dangerous. I'm going to get mugged.
Yes.
And Bruce Batti would say,
I would come downtown. It's much safer than, and I don't want to besmirch anything north of Shaw, but Fashion Fair, River Park. I have been downtown my whole career. So I started at Gottschalk's in '76. I have never been mugged. I've never been robbed. It is as safe as any place can be in our valley. So I think downtown for the first time, like I said, I've been there a long time. This is the first time I've really...
Why do you believe in downtown?
I think the same reason millennials go there. When I first got out of school, I wanted an urban experience, and downtown afforded me that. I remember my first day at Gottschalk's. I walked out, I punched out of the clock, walked down the mall. I probably had 22 eating choices for lunch as I walked down the mall.
But you don't have that now.
No, you do not. But you have a sense that it is starting to repopulate. There really is a synergy down there.
Will it get there?
Yes. I think the millennial urban experience, we're starting to put rooftops downtown. If you looked at the original...
Darius Assemi.
Yeah, and Reza, who is the owner of our building. But if you look at the original deal plans, after the mall, there were these tertiary rows that were going to be housing.
Yeah.
They did plan, like a lot of stuff that happened back there. Phase 1 got implemented, Phase 2 and 3 did not.
I don't want to get cut off. We got 30 seconds. But would you come back at some point?
We'll do this again.
Maybe talk about downtown sometime. We can talk more about downtown.
Love to do that once we
I
get
wanted
the building
to focus on your agency today because it's such a great agency and you do good work, and maybe we'll bring it back here to talk about downtown.
Love to do that, John.
All right. It's my pleasure to see you today.
Good to see you.
All right. Bruce Batti, the owner, co-owner, I should say, with his wife of Jeffrey Scott Agency. That's going to do it for us. See you tomorrow with Jim Perez. Have a good day.
All right.
There's nothing better than showing up to your next big event in a new suit or tuxedo. Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop on Clovis Avenue, just south of Old Town Clovis, has provided a wide selection of custom-tailored fine suits and accessories for over 25 years. Right now, get 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, and a pair of shoes for only $199. Act now and get a 3rd suit for only $50 more. Stop by or call 559-298-6063 to schedule your fitting today at Sam's Men's Suits and Tuxedo Shop.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign. MeTV reaches over 100,000 of your potential customers in the Fresno area every single week. Plus, you can rest assured that your commercial is running in the greatest family-friendly programs of all time. MeTV Fresno delivers a strong, loyal audience ready to buy, and your campaign will cost a fraction of what you're paying for your advertising now. Call me today to find out how affordable MeTV is